Welcome everyone to SEO Office Hours. My name is Michael Chidzey. I'm an SEO here at Good Signals. And part of what we do, along with special guests, are these office hour sessions where people can jump in and ask their questions around their website and web search. By the way, nobody here is in the hot seat and we might not know all the answers, but multiple heads thinking about a problem should help. It's been very busy in the SEO Office Hours mailroom. And as you can see, we've got a bunch of questions submitted already. But if there's anybody here on the call that would like to ask any questions, feel free to flag yourself in the chat functionality and we will be monitoring. Like every week, with me today is Jo Juliana Turnbull, also known as SEO Joe Blogs. Morning, Joe. How you doing?
Hi, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm doing well. And I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone that's joined us today. We've got Simon, Zane, Neil, Natalie, Eugenie, Max as well that's joining us live. And obviously to everyone that's joining us afterwards on the YouTube channel.
And would you mind introducing our speakers as well?
Sure, I will. First of all, I'll just say thank you for the introductions. I'm Jo Juliana Turnbull and I run a digital marketing remote consultancy here in Barcelona, Spain. And I also run two events, Search London and Search Barcelona. And today I'm really pleased to have on the show our two special guests, Montse and Chris. So Montse is actually an international SEO and digital marketing and been living in London for nearly 20 years. And she was one of our very first attendees, actually, of Search London. She's also been appointed as ambassador for the Women Tech Makers program that helps women and girls advance their careers in technology. Welcome to SEO Office Hours, Montse.
Hello, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm pleased to be here.
Yeah, thank you for coming today. And I'll just share how you can connect with Montse on her LinkedIn and or on her website. And really pleased as well today to have Chris. So Chris has been actually an active member of SEO Office Hours, and he's joined us, I think, pretty much nearly every episode we've had so far to date. So thank you, Chris. He actually runs his own consultancy business in Scotland. It's called Our Name Consultants, and he's worked across many different niches and sizes of businesses on both global and local level. And I'll just here add his details so you can connect with him on LinkedIn and also his consultancy business. It's a website and digital marketing consultancy. So thank you very much, Chris, for joining us. Sorry if I didn't pronounce the name of the company correctly.
No, not at all. We said Uranium. Thanks very much. That's a great introduction, and thanks for having me on.
Oh, pleasure for joining us each week.
Yeah, thanks for having it.
I always think you give really good feedback in the chat when I get a chance to look through. You're always giving solutions as well, so it's really good to have you on here.
Yeah, so please everyone write in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat. So if there's any other questions that you'd like to ask our guests today, Montse and Chris, please do so, and I'll be asking them. And hi, we've had a few more people join us: Max, Rubel, and Ebere. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll pass back over to Mike.
Great, let's get going. So thank you to those who have provided feedback. If anyone has any feedback in the future, feel free to email it over, mike@goodsignals.com. And we're going to start with one of the new regular questions that we're going to try out, which was from some feedback, which is just asking everybody what they're working on at the moment. So what have you been working on this week? Let's start with Joe. What have you been doing this week?
Hi, Mike. Thank you. I've actually been working on planning some online and some offline events. So I run Search London, and we actually are having our first online event of 2024. And I'm having this on January the 30th. It's all about getting excited about GA4 and also getting B2B SEO investment approved. I will share the link in the chat, and everyone that can attend, I will share a code so you can use that. And also, Search London is turning 13, so we're going to have an in-person event in central London on February 26th. And we've got 4 great speakers talking about different aspects of social, content marketing, and SEO. So I'll also share that in the chat.
Awesome. And Chris, what have you been up to this week?
Unfortunately, not quite as exciting. I've just been doing general client work, local SEO, and I've built a couple of landing pages this week actually because of the Google graveyard that's happening with all those websites. So, it doesn't matter what you do online. If people hear you know something about websites, they're like, go to fix it. So that's been keeping me busy. And I've enjoyed it because I don't get to build many websites now,
Oh,
So
nice. What do you build? What do you build them in? Just out of interest.
I've actually got a proprietary software called Uranium Core for mobile first websites. So I've been building them in that just so they're getting, it's basically built to create fully optimized mobile first websites so they're passing core web vitals. and it's quite easy to get all their technical SEO in.
Okay, awesome. And Montse, what have you been doing this week?
For me, this week is about just waiting for my clients to give me the green light to start implementing the big international audits that I've been doing for the past couple of months. And also prepping for a university course that I will be teaching in a couple of weeks' time on SEO and digital marketing management.
Oh, cool. Where are you teaching that?
I am teaching it here in Madrid, actually, to a university to school, which is attached to Canterbury University in the UK for last year university students.
Oh, cool. Awesome. I was thinking, because when I got this bit of feedback about this question, I was thinking about what have I been up to this week? And if I'm honest, I think I lost my mojo a bit at the beginning of the week. I've been working on quite a big link building project. You know, when you just haven't quite settled on the idea. So I kind of went into deep learning and research, and I've come out at the end of it, and I think I'm there. So that's quite good. But it was one of those beginning of the week when if you haven't got a good enough idea, then you just need to go and do something else. So that's been a big part of my week. I've been doing some other things as well, but that's the main thing. Right, let's start with the first other question, not the regular one. So how can I get our developers to take our SEO recommendations more seriously? Let's start with, who fancies going first with this one?
I don't mind. This is actually a big topic for me. I've been talking about this for a long time. And first of all, I would say start with yourselves, with your own mindset. Why would others need to pay attention to what you are doing? And that is really important, because you might think, okay, we've been hired to do this and that, and then somebody else needs to help us out. But then the fact is that those developers are not our secretaries, nor our employees. So they've got their own team objectives, their own personal objectives as well. And they might be doing something else which is totally different, but incredibly important for, say, maybe the platform needs a bit more sustainability, maybe the platform needs more security, etc., etc. So important aspects that you as SEO don't even have any visibility on, and you shouldn't have, perhaps. So I think this is the best approach. And so when you approach a professional, any other professional, you just explain to them what you are doing in the first place, why you are doing it, and why it is necessary that they help you out. I think the best way to start, particularly if you don't talk to engineering teams very often, is to start with their boss, with their project manager, or whatever the title they may have, so that you have an idea of what they are working on, whether they are able to fit in certain schema markup fixes, perhaps, or maybe just much bigger projects. So you have an idea to introduce yourself. You just build up relationships with them, because the most important bit is building up relationships, communication, be clear as to what you are trying to achieve, and then things are a lot easier. I'm not saying this is not a bullet point, and it obviously will definitely depend on the actual company setup, because sometimes communication between departments is simply very difficult for whatever reason, and so you actually need to make an extra effort in doing that, in communicating with them. Sometimes it's just too pyramidal, and it's rather difficult to get hold of the person who's responsible for those teams. And sometimes there's simply lack of knowledge. Yeah, and I have talked to many developers who have no idea about SEO, or who have no idea about schema markup, or had no idea about web perf, etc. It's just about gaining trust by communicating, which is easier said than done.
Perfect. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, well, that was a great answer. Yeah, essentially just backing that up. I've been on the receiving end, and it's important to remember that developers aren't necessarily SEOs. They might know bits and bobs due to other implementation, but when SEO, when things start, the scope starts coming up, it's normally providing more clarity into what you're doing. As a developer, you get scope creep, and there's nothing worse than someone coming with loads of tiny little things that just expand in your time and they take over your work, and it's really frustrating. And at the end of the day, you still get your work to do as a developer. So become friends rather than enemies, definitely. And when you are going, make sure, as Montserrat said, you have to define what you're doing and the why. And if possible, it doesn't take much to look into. Figure out, even as an overview, how you would implement it. So when you're going to the developer, you're being nice and friendly. You've narrowed down exactly what and why is to be implemented and pointing them in the right direction to implement it. So you're kind of changing the perspective a little bit, and you're making it a quick win for the developer. And then when you're doing that versus other SEOs who are just slapping them with information, you become the preferred SEO, which means your stuff starts getting prioritized. I know it's a little bit Game of Thrones, but you need to make sure that you're making their life easier and not just you, because at the end of the day, you're all one team, go like putting the ship towards the one direction. So you want to work as a team rather than an extension that's just hard work to get through. But other than that, I think everything else has been answered.
Yeah.
You know what? When I used to work in house, there was our sort of dev there. What's the phrase I'm looking for? He was quite difficult, let's say, just in terms of, and that wasn't just with me, that was with everybody. Obviously, that's a really important person in terms of technical SEO to get on site. So obviously, we naturally just became friends, but also whenever I'd ask him to do something or ask for help with something, I'd go and sit with him, for example, and just not sit at his desk, but like next to him and just kind of get an idea of what else was going on. And I think what you were saying, Chris, about the other stuff they've got, that like what you have isn't the most important thing. When I was sitting there, one of the moments I noticed was he was constantly getting requests from everybody else because he was covering development. So one person that kept coming over to his desk saying that I'm having issues with my computer, nothing's working, and so on. And he was just like, have you restarted your machine? You've done all this stuff. And I noticed several other people coming up asking him other IT questions. And anyway, this person all day kept coming over. And so he just walked over and he said, I bet I can sort this out within seconds. He walked over and it was a banana on a keyboard. I bet that you also have to remember anybody to do with development IT, they're also dealing with all these other ridiculous things. So it's not just your work. And I think the one thing that's really worked quite well for me with developers is one, helping them, working with them. So wherever I can make their life easier and so on. And the other thing is also sharing results with them. So when we are seeing wins and things go really well, making sure they know that they were a part of that rather than it just being just us taking the credit for it and them not. So that's a few things I would add. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I would say what has been said before, but I'd also just say at the beginning that you have common gate, because sometimes devs have their own stuff to do. So that's why your dev work that you're asking them to do is like an add-on, because it's not part of what they're supposed to be working on. So if you can try and sort of work it back, or obviously take any month as a fresh start and say, okay, from now we're going to be working together on these common KPIs. And then, of course, their boss and your boss needs to know and be informed that that's what you're working on. So it also sort of comes from the top too. So yeah, some good questions there.
Perfect.
Just add one more thing on that. There's one thing that a lot of people don't consider with devs is that if you become friendly with them and you work with them, they start helping you.
Exactly.
One of the biggest reasons I got into SEO was that, and it was technical SEO, because I realised that the SEOs weren't getting everything quite right, and I started seeing more things, and then I ended up pivoting. And I've also had some feedback from developers, and you're like, wow, I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think secondments, I mean, this is just a corporate talk, but secondments, like working just one day or two with developers, and developers coming over to work with you just for one day or two as well, does wonders. But also, yeah, what Chris is saying is just does wonders. Right?
Yeah, we have a few comments in the chat. Thanks very much. Simon says, big friends of the devs while wearing a hat and with a head tag on it. I think that Simon has it. A nice hat with head tag on it. Also from Eugenio is talking about developers are human beings. So he likes to explain to them more in depth why it's important for us to do X, Y, and Z. For example, more organic trip, we get the leads to more money. More money leads to obviously the company growing, and obviously opportunity for us as employees for advancements in career. And we were saying maybe buy some chocolates to bribe them into prioritizing you.
Bribery always works.
That's a good one. But
that has worked with beer and cake.
Beer and cake. But actually, do you know a bribe? It's not. You can't consider that a bribe because it's so minimal. It's just being nice. buying them
Nice
chocolate
coffee.
cakes,
Yeah.
donuts. Perfect. So thank you.
Also, just something else that can also be quite helpful is obviously all the tools and stuff that we use, particularly on the technical side. Sometimes we can actually help them out with maybe there are pages that aren't working or buttons that aren't working or things like that, and actually using our tools and then sharing those results with them. Depending on how you position it, sometimes can sort of seem like you're doing them a favor there. Just don't go and tell everybody else that you found all these issues. But if you go and share it with them and go, oh, I've just done a crawl of the website and noticed that these are not working as they should, and explain why, that's quite a good way of building trust. Yeah. Right, next question. One thing I've been very interested in recently is the progression of Google's response to AI generated content and how it will be valued in comparison to non-AI content. Any thoughts? Chris, you look like you're about to go straight away. You have go for it. You're done.
So I've thought a lot about this and done a lot of research, and I've been running tests for over a year now. And I've found that my tests haven't shown the best for AI ranking yet. I've had other people doing tests where it has, and I've taken all of it together and I get a little bit obsessive when I'm doing research on tests. And what I've found is whether it's AI or not isn't really the problem. I mean, Google said at first, we're not going to rank AI. And then they turned around and said, well, actually, we are going to rank for AI because we now are in the market. And then they released the helpful content update. And I thought that was really good at bringing it all together, because what they're basically saying is it's about people-focused content. So it's still quality, relevance, provide unique value within your content and have it well structured. And if you're doing that, I don't think it matters so much if it's AI or human that's done it. But I will say this, AI cannot do it by itself. It's an assistant. So even if you're using AI, you need to go through it all by hand and make sure it's all put in place. It's like a cake tin. It shapes the cake for you, but it doesn't make the cake. So you have to still put in the work and focus on humans.
Yeah, I like that too. Montse?
Yeah, I very much agree with Chris. AI is not magic. As I understand it, it's something that which is at the moment, and I don't know enough about artificial intelligence, but as I understand it, the AI tools will actually get what's out there. So whatever it is that we actually publish on the website and we allow them to actually get, ChatGPT will actually get. So publishing content which is relevant, which is well written, the technical side of things well implemented, structurally great, which is what Chris was saying, will actually help us now, as it did help us before, and I'm pretty certain it will help us later on. It doesn't really matter whether it is AI or human. I think it's just a matter of making sure that your content is relevant and well structured and everything. In terms of rankings, we don't really know. At the moment, there's a huge volatility on the SERPs, and search engine results pages, because Google and also Bing are running tests all the time. They are experimenting. So today we are ranking for a certain page, and then tomorrow we are ranking with a different web page and a different keyword as well. And this is to do with this volatility. It also affects, for example, snippets, right? So featured snippets, which I see them coming back a bit more often than in previous months. It's something that we need to bear in mind. But we also need to be able to publish good content again, good structure, etc., etc. That never goes old.
Perfect. Joe, do you have anything to add?
I've just shared some resources in the chat. I think the thing is that, Chris, even if you're doing a year study, I think that would actually be quite useful to see some of the results if you're able to share them. The thing with AI is it's still, as we've said, it's still developing. I have seen, though, actually within LinkedIn, they were doing with some of their articles. I think it might not be in everyone's profile, depending on which country you are. So it's something that I'll be looking into more. I don't have the answers yet, but it's something that we need to be looking at. But from what I've read, it's about using AI to help you, but it's not replacing us completely. It's about helping us to automate things, which we do anyway with many other tools. So I would say it's another tool to add to our toolbox.
A good way to think about AI is, I think AI get oversold at the beginning, and if you don't really think about A lot of people work with computers now, but not everybody thinks about how computers work. And there was a man, Richard Feynman, who was a physicist years ago, unfortunately passed away, but in the 70s, he described a computer really well. He said that it's just switches on and off, and of course, as it's binary. And with more processing power, they've got more switches. So if you think of AI, it's really a conductor of all those switches. It sets, like ChatGPT's, like billions of parameters. So they're not clever. They can just research really wide, really fast, and pull all that in. So if you think about them as a researcher, you're going to get the best out of them, or a very specific function. But don't try and get them to do any AI system to do everything, because it just can't. Be clear on what you need and don't expect too much. And it could be something as simple as, say you were writing a blog article and you've got your keywords, you can say, this is what I want, this is what it's for, this is the keywords I'm going to use, and I want a certain structure, and give it to AI, and it'll give you a sort of baseline of where to start from. If you use it like that, you'll get the best out of it.
Yeah, we use AI as a tool, like everyone suggests, to help with briefing writers, for example, or maybe pulling notes together. So say we've got a load of research notes. So Tom Anthony was on a few weeks ago, and he was talking about that he works for Search Pilot, and they've been doing some SEO split testing with AI content. And he was saying that basically at the moment, the AI content has been performing better than the human written content. And I wish I'd have challenged this at the time, but I've thought about that since. And the thing is, it depends on which humans you're using, right? Yeah, it depends on which humans you're using, because I know from working with tons of copywriters and tons of SEOs and so on, that actually AI, in some cases, AI would produce, but ChatGPT would produce a better blog post. But actually there are others that I work with who are really, really good, particularly experts in their field. And so that would always be my preference. So yeah, it's really hard to do a fair test, I think, with something like that, because like I could put 3 or 4 copywriters up against each other and they would struggle, I think, to compete with each other.
Yeah, I've read recently something which is I didn't consider this from this point of view, but in terms of images, so I normally produce images for fun, just to see what comes out of it, all those promptings and stuff. No? In terms of producing images for business purposes, what I have read recently is that perhaps the idea that they give is that your business is poor, and poor in terms of talents, as in graphics talents or in design talents. I didn't consider this from this point of view, because some of the pictures, some of the graphics that I have seen are simply amazing. They really, really are very good quality. But yeah, I think if somebody is also saying this, perhaps many other people are thinking exactly the same thing. So just considering this point. But yeah, no, definitely using AI tools as a researcher, as a helper, as assisting you to produce, for example, schema markup code, which I have used it for that reason very often, or even research notes, as Mike was saying. It's very useful.
Yeah, it is. And I think it makes, for instance, since we've been using different forms of AI tools and things, it's definitely made our content better, for example, and it's definitely made us more efficient. And one of the things I love actually is, rather than using it to write content, so ChatGPT I'm talking about now, using it for putting an article in, say, that we've done, or a page in, and then asking specific questions about that and seeing if that's come across. So getting feedback essentially from ChatGPT, or asking what they think this is about and so on, is really useful.
Yeah, actually on the images, I've done graphic design for a long time, even before I was working online, and the likes of making a logo, a professional logo, a lot of work goes into it. I know some people use clip art or quick doodles, but a real logo takes a lot of time and effort. And there's certain principles within the logo. And I found that I've tried the logo creators with AI, and they're not very good. I mean, it looks nice, but it's not an efficient logo. But where I have found it successful is sketching out a logo and writing a spec, everything behind the logo, and not giving the AI that and putting the logo in and seeing what it tells me about the logo. And I'll check and see how
that's very
close I've
interesting.
got it. Yeah, and to be honest with you, it's really good at that. You know, it might not get everything I've aimed for, but that's on me to create a better logo. And it's hard because you normally start with a lot of stuff in a logo, and then you rip everything right back to its bare bones to get a good logo, but you still need to keep all the information within a really tight logo, like Nike, you know, with the swoosh. Or
That's good.
FedEx is good.
I love asking them to play a role as well. So I was trying to compile the odds for something the other day, and you can ask ChatGPT or whoever to basically, I want you to be an odds compiler. And I was sort of testing some other tools for something, and I wanted to compare. And Simon's just put in here about regular expression as well. It's a massive lifestyle. Things like that, yeah, to write your regular expression. So cool.
Yes, I
did
think
you have anything to add?
Well, I just think that everyone needs to be, I would say, be open and test a few things, like you said, Chris, and I like that from what you said, Simon, use AI to write your reg expression. So yeah, just make your life a bit easier. I also want to say for those that are joining us afterwards, if you're enjoying SEO Office Hours, click the like button on YouTube and subscribe to Good Signals YouTube channel. I'll also share in the link for those that are joining us afterwards. If you want to join us live, subscribe to Good Signals or sign up on goodsignals.com/SEO-office-hours. And then you can join us live next time. Back over to you, Mike.
Amazing. Thanks, Joe. You're very good at that. I'm awful at bothering to do anything like that. Okay, this is an interesting one. What is happening with Bing rankings? A keyword I'm trying to rank for well on Google is performing differently on Bing. A site with 0 domain rating and only 4 random backlinks is holding the top positions, and the other sites ranking are very similar. So basically, has anybody else experienced this? Do you spend much time on Bing? Montse, do you want to start?
Yeah, I have spent quite a lot of time on Bing. Actually, they are just different. They are, first of all, they are 2 different machines, and that's that. And so I don't know which one of them is more powerful. All that I know is that both of them are experimenting now with artificial intelligence, and they have been doing so for a very long time. It's just that their ecosystem is different, and Google might be able to pick up sites that have been submitted to them and maybe not to Bing. And they may be better quality or maybe not. But it shouldn't really matter to anyone if your competitors on the SERPs on Bing are really poor in that respect, or that they're worse, because that means that you have a competitive advantage over them. So just keep optimizing, and it's as simple as that. And it's brilliant. Just keep optimizing. If you're competing, say, for, I don't know, plumbing, for a plumbing business, and your competitors in that respect, in that field, on Bing, are really not presenting a great website, it means that you have perhaps much better chance to be called upon, right? Or to have more inquiries.
Great. Chris, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, actually, I've found that I focused mainly on Google because it's over % market share or search share, so I've always been down that route. But what I have found is I've worked with a couple of people that wanted to rank in Bing, and I find that you can rank in Google or you can rank in Bing, but I think it's very rare to rank in both because it's different algorithms with different priorities. For example, the backlink, Google put a lot of emphasis into backlinks, high quality backlinks, whereas Bing's not so much. It's more about user engagement and things like that.
Yeah.
And if I was ranking well on Google, I wouldn't actually be expecting to be ranking well on Bing. So if you're even on page 1 on Bing, ranking well in Google, then you're doing better than most. But I would focus on Google first, and then if you can make some tweaks without dropping any rankings for Bing, I'd move on to that. But Bing shouldn't be, I think Bing's like 3 or 4%, you know, so if you're going for volume,
Yes.
I would go for Google.
Yeah, I think it's about focusing on the search engine that your client is using the most, really. I think there's always different things happening in other search engines, so you can't always control it. And we're still finding out different things with Google. So Bing having a much smaller market share, there's more things and there's less probably written about it. Just a comment from Simon, ignore domain rankings. Maybe the other sites that are ranking, they might have better content. Yeah, I probably wouldn't worry so much about what other people are doing. Just focus on what you are doing and prioritize the search engine that you're driving the most traffic through.
And this is particularly true in an international context, because there are other markets where people are using Sesnam, for example, in Czech Republic, or just imagine Baidu in China. And the other one I never quite remember how to pronounce that properly, but I know there are several ones in China, in the Asian market. So it's just about focusing, as Joe and Chris have said, in the search engine that brings the most results, because your audience is using it the most in that particular market. And like I said, if you are ranking better in Bing, fantastic, fantastic. Optimize that, because it's not just about rankings, it's about the business that comes out of it. So it might be that you're ranking first, say, in Google, but maybe third or fourth or fifth in Bing. But your business at this moment in time is coming from Bing. It can happen.
Great. And what about, so something on LinkedIn I've been monitoring, Natalie Slater, who was on here, it was like the second or third week, put on LinkedIn a message about TikTok is not a search engine because, and there's been lots of comments around that. And I know that there are some others so I know that the guys at Rise at 7 have been standing outside of Google with signs saying TikTok is a search engine. What are your thoughts? Is that something that's on your radar, or do you think about TikTok at all?
I do. It's not just TikTok. I consider everything. It's true. It's not a search engine, but it could be. And if it pivoted to be a search engine, it'd be a very competitive search engine. But you need to think of the target audience, who's using TikTok and why. And even though it's exploded out from was it Musical.ly? I think it started as Musical.ly, and it built out from there. It's got a unique target audience. And even though it's grown out into its own pathways. And you've also got like YouTube. YouTube is essentially a search engine as well. So is Amazon or what's it called, AliExpress and things like that. What they're delivering for their users are different things. So if you're going to be using TikTok, you should be using it for what you use TikTok for. When ranking your website isn't necessarily it, although it can play a big role for social signals and stuff like that. So I wouldn't dismiss it. It's a big help, but it's not the be all for your business.
Yeah, it depends really on what you're using. So I'm just going to say that back to the question of, is it a search engine? I think when, for example, YouTube first came out, people didn't see it as a search engine, but it is a search engine, especially if you are creating video. So it really depends on what your business is working with, whether you would consider that a search engine in the future. I think it's a bit too early maybe to say.
I always find that whenever I go to talks that are about SEO for other platforms, so Amazon SEO or TikTok SEO or any of those, they're always really disappointing, because I always think that it's almost like Google 10, 15 years ago, when people are talking about the tips and so on. Make sure you add loads of keywords and stuff like that. So I get really excited about those talks, but they tend not to live up to expectation. Montse, what about you in terms of TikTok? Is that something that's on your radar?
Yes, it is. As a marketer, and I think this is something we all need to consider as marketers, we need to know what it is all about, so that we know when to consider it and when not to consider it, and how to use it, or how our audience is using it. I don't think it's a search engine. The same with YouTube. I don't think it's a search engine. But however, I do use it for keyword research. I have to say, just to see what's out there, because depending on the product or the service I am researching or I'm auditing, perhaps it can give me clues as to how people are perceiving it, how people are finding it, if they are finding it through TikTok or YouTube or Amazon or anything. It's just ideas as to how I can better tap into user intent. And I think it's fun as well. I think we can't really leave out the fact that we are in a creative industry, however technical we may be, and we all need to enjoy what we are doing. And TikTok can be very enjoyable. It's just that, it does feel slightly backwards. So I agree with Mike when he says that sometimes it feels like maybe 10, 15 years ago. Yeah, exactly. When we go to talks and they explain to us what TikTok is and how it can be used, etc., etc. But then I look around me, and most people in there maybe are 10, 15 years or even 20 years younger than me. So that's how it is. So we need to keep in touch with what's going on.
I went to a really interesting talk going back about a year and a half ago by Will Reynolds. It was at Errors conference, and he was basically talking about how SEO is never the one that's that exciting, and you get these new platforms come along. And at the time, he was talking about TikTok, and he was saying that with the tools that we have and the machine learning that we have from Google and so on, that we can make what people are doing on TikTok so much better, because we've got all this data. Just Google alone, just the search results gives us 25 years worth of machine learning that we can make that better. So I thought that was really interesting. So it's like, get yourself a seat back at that table, and you can make the TikTok person look much better. Okay.
Yeah. While you're getting another question, Natalie actually just sent something which is actually quite interesting, but for everyone to read later, just about TikTok search engine, how does it impact marketing? So thanks for sharing that, Natalie. And it's quite a recent article, just from end of October last year.
Great. I'm also going to suggest that, because Natalie Slater is so passionate about this subject, I might get her back on and we'll maybe ask her a bit more about it, because I know she's really investigating and having arguments and so on online about it. It's really fun to watch. Okay, next question. Okay, this is very short. The more context in future people can give us, the better, because ideally with this question, you would give us your website URL. So we aren't getting any leads through our website. Any suggestions? It's obviously a very generic question. Chris, do you fancy going first?
Yeah, to back that up, it's an impossible question to answer without any context. But the one generic answer I can give is get an audit, and it will tell you exactly where the problem is. But outside of that, I can't really say anything without knowing, without seeing the website or checking out. It could be a bad backlink profile, it could be poor quality content, it could be bad user experience, it could be failing core web vitals, there could be a number of things. But if you get an audit, it will literally just give you a list of everything you need to get fixed.
That's a good answer. And I'd also just add to that, outside SEO and analyzing from that point of view, get feedback from friends and family. What do they think of the site? And basic things could be something like, they can't find the version, the buttons, or is it easy to get in touch with you? Because sometimes when you're very close to your own product or website, you may miss something that can seem obvious.
Montse?
Well, I would say, without having any context, but I have had similar questions before. And it's always about looking at what else you are doing. I mean, SEO is or a website or TikTok or YouTube, they are not magic bullets. They definitely are not. And they shouldn't actually be treated, or a website in this case, shouldn't be treated on its own. So a website is a product, it's a marketing product, also a sales product that serves a purpose. So I would say, first of all, that audit, that would come in so handy. But then at the same time, are you clear about what you are saying? Is your value proposition clearly defined? Do you have a plan? Do you have a business plan for that? Because if you are trying to get leads, it's because you are asking people to subscribe, let's say Netflix, just for the sake of argument, or you are trying to subscribe to, I don't know, to any other type of business, or do you have a business, a plan, a vision for that, a vision that drives you where you want to, and then do you have a plan to achieve all that, right? That is very important. A website is not magic. It really is not. It's part of a whole. And so I would look at everything else. So when you create a lead generation business, or if your business is lead generation, a website comes after thinking what you are trying to achieve. And I know it might sound boring. It really does. And it sounds like, oh, wow, it's too many steps, too many words, too many everything. But you have to have a very clear idea about what you are trying to say, what you're trying to achieve, and how you are trying to get there. So if you need a website after all this, then so be it. But it needs to be part of the whole, right? And then it needs maintenance as well. So many people create websites and they just think, oh, I have published a website and that's about it. And this is where we come in with audits, and we find so many problems because people do not audit them, because people do not maintain them, people do not monitor them. And this happens in small businesses, SMEs, big corporations. It happens everywhere because it all depends on how those businesses are set up, what people are thinking, and how they operate. So this is my take on this. Think holistically.
Thank you. I just wanted to say quickly, we've got some comments in the chat. So thanks, Simon. He's talking about sticking Microsoft Clarity in the site and see what the visitors are actually doing.
Exactly.
It also gives them insight, which is great. Also, actually look at your analytics. Now we have GA4. You can actually look at scrolling, see if people are scrolling through or not, and where people are leaving the site. Back to you, Mike.
Yeah, I think with this question, because obviously we don't have that context, but I think you need to work out, is it a traffic problem or is it a conversion problem? It could be both. But if, for instance, you could work on the conversion side and actually you just don't have enough traffic in the first place. So I would work at those. If it's a traffic issue, then I would, like everybody said, look at doing an audit, look to see if there's even demand, for instance, in your space. There are some industries where it's just so specific that there isn't that search volume. And therefore, if that's the case, there might be other ways to try and get those leads, rather than our business tends to be more of a referral business, even though we're an SEO company, and it tends to be from speaking at events and all of that kind of stuff. So I could spend all year on trying to rank for terms like SEO agency, but actually that might not be the best use of time when actually I know that there are these other ways of driving inquiries and leads and so on. Yeah. So I would basically try and work out what's the problem. Is it a traffic problem? Yeah. Work out if there's demand. If there is demand, then you might want to audit what you've got, or you might just want to put like a content strategy together. You might want to do a bit of testing via AdWords as well to just see if any of that generates leads before you spend ages on putting together a content strategy. And then if it's a conversion issue, that's when I would use things like Full Story, Hotjar, look at scroll maps and recorded sessions. I would potentially, on pages where you're getting high exit rates, I would do incentivized surveys where I'd ask people questions about what's stopping you from buying today, things like that. So try and find as much out about the user as possible. And then, like Joe said, you could ask friends, or one thing that we do is sometimes we'll just go and recruit users in coffee shops and we'll offer to buy them their coffee or their lunch, whatever it is they're waiting for, and just ask them to do a few tests on say a new version of the website or the website itself, and just giving those people a scenario and then asking them to think out loud. It's not perfect, but it's really good at finding out those issues. The thing, an ex-girlfriend of mine actually she was a product manager, and she used to, whenever they were preparing a new part of the product, she would put it in front of her mum and just ask her mum to do something. And there were so many family arguments where it would be so obvious just to click this one button, and she would be there with fist in her mouth, just going, "Mum, just press the button." So getting that feedback from people, because although it's obvious to you because you've been staring at it, designing it, been a big part of everything for a long time. Oh, the other thing as well is just when you're digging into analytics, seeing where people are coming in from. It's usually not always the front door. It could be a category page or some random page further in the website, and trying to understand what those journeys are rather than just looking at the same 4 or 5 pages each time.
I just want to say that when I have looked at all these issues, 7 times out of 10 has usually been either the forms are not correctly set up, or they are not working, or you are not getting in the right information, or the CRM is not properly picking up all the data. And that is a huge problem. And it also comes back to the fact that it's a whole thing. It's not a website only. It's what you are trying to do, why you are trying to do it, what other things you are trying to do to drive traffic to that website or to monetize from that traffic as well. But yeah, forums, things like a field is not working, or a field is picking up the wrong information. Even Hotmail addresses. It's interesting because when you are actually picking up a Hotmail addresses, this is not a malfunction, by the way, but when you are trying to when you pick up that type of data, in my experience, is not people who are interested in subscribing or being sold or whatever. It's just time wasters. It really is. So see what kind of information you are picking up, see whether they are actually working well, see whether you actually need less or more information, because sometimes phone numbers is not useful. Yeah. But it might be.
This question obviously got a lot of responses, and thanks everyone for adding in the chat. We also have another one from Eugenia also mentioning about Testing with Google Ads, keywords that have a high CPC, that's quite a good tip. And if you don't get any leads from maybe the first 100 clips, just maybe also look at the landing page and see what can be improved from a point of view. Thanks everyone for adding in the chat, and I realize we don't have much time left, so I just wanted to quickly say thank you to everyone that's joined us today, and also to our speakers as well for sharing so many tips. But back over to you, Mike, for a few more questions.
Thank you. I've done a really bad job at directing questions because, as you can see, we're only halfway through. We will still stop at 10:30, so I'm sorry if we don't get to your questions. Let me take a few of these. We also had some feedback on our final question, which I'm going to try and fit in. So if we can try and get this down to fairly quick answers. Okay, so this one is, what are some good interview questions for hiring SEO talent? We'll try and make this one fairly quickish, because then there's another bigger question at the end. Who wants to go first? Joe, you look like you want to go first. Go for it. What's your interview question?
Interview questions, I would actually ask them, what are they doing outside of work related to SEO and also outside? It shows that they are sort of passionate and they have a hobby. There you go. Quick answer.
Great. Chris, what's your SEO hiring question?
I tend to find the attitude of an SEO helps more than anything, because you can learn extra bits of SEO. And that attitude might sound a bit off, but it's true, is work fast, work hard, fail fast, don't stop. The idea that you're okay to fail and just keep pushing at it till you get it right, running tests, and being a little bit obsessive makes a good SEO. So look for that quality in someone.
Yeah, I like that. Say that again. There's three. Well, you can share a bit later, but it's very good.
Work hard, fail fast, don't stop.
Nice. Montse, what's your SEO interview question?
Aside from all that, what I would ask them is how they keep on top of developments. Because if they tell you search engine land, I read search engine land and search round table and all those. But what I'd like to see is whether they go a little bit more granular, whether they actually read, say, Las Arenas Toys blog posts, for example, or any others that might be of interest, or not even SEO related, but maybe something which can be applied to it, like analytics, for example.
Great. I think with me, I like to ask questions where they don't necessarily need to be the right answer, but you hear their process. So yeah. For example, maybe some questions like we're talking about on SEO Office Hours. So could be you give some examples like the last one about I'm having issues with leads. What would you do? And just find out what their answers are. And that would help you understand like the tools that they use, the way they think. So I think without giving them an actual task, something like that would work. I think what's really important is getting an SEO in the room if you can, or as part of the interview process. Because I think it's very easy in our industry I think what Chris was saying about failure is really important. And actually, I think you need to have failed quite a bit, a little bit, and made mistakes to understand the importance of what you're doing. And so actually finding out, so Simon's put about their backstory, which I think is really important. But I've been hit by core updates, I've had bad site migrations, I've had all these issues over the time, reconsideration requests. I've done all of those things, and they've been really hard and horrible, but they've made me a much better SEO. By the way, I sound like a real kind of awful SEO. I'm not. I've been doing this for a long time. But it's what Chris was saying, you want somebody that's really passionate as well about what they're doing, because yeah, if you don't, then they're going to get bored very quickly. Did we have any more in the chat?
No, that was what Simon said.
So last regular question, and people in the chat, feel free to also put your perspectives as well. So what are you most excited about right now in SEO? We'll finish with this one. So Montse, what are you really excited about in terms of SEO at the moment?
I really am very excited about artificial intelligence and how it is being applied to search engines as products, and how we can actually leverage it as SEOs as well. I think there's going to be more developments coming soon, and I am quite ready to test as well. And so looking forward to hearing more about Chris's tests. That would be amazing.
Chris, what about you? What are you most excited about in terms of SEO?
Again, AI. I sound like I'm always tearing AI apart, but to be honest with you, I think it's brilliant. I like the way we're moving into SGE and voice search. Voice search crumbled and now it's taken off. And there's people between the ages of 30 and 50 now. It's risen to 40%. So people can't be bothered typing anymore or lifting their glasses. They just say it into the phone. And you see kids sending text messages, just talking into their phone. And you're like, what are you doing? So how everything's come together with SGE and narrowing down search is really interesting. And the idea that now you can just circle an image and search it through the multi-model, multitask unified model, the MUM update from Google. Stuff like that's incredible. So you can see AI coming in from all different angles. And I think local SEO is going to play a major role, regardless of what type of other SEO you're doing. I think being able to narrow down your local SEO is going to help you with SGE moving forward. So I'm excited to
I'm
see.
excited to see how the changes in the SERP results go. So that actually is SCG, and also actually the impact of EEAT and also schema. And on top of that, excited to have more sort of events going to online and in person this year, because it looks like there might be a nice little mix anyway between in-person and online events.
Yeah, I guess I get most excited about the things I'm not expecting, and that always happens in our industry. I love it when I go to events. I think the best event I went to last year was the one by Google, and it was like an off the record one, so it wasn't recorded. And I know quite a few people went to that, and I just love things like that when they're talking about things that you just aren't thinking about, and then you need to think about it and so on. I love that our industry is always changing, and so I think the constant change is something that I love trying to keep up with, and I'm excited about. Has anybody else shared in the chat?
Just one around some technical SEO, what might change with that, and some blog content.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to Joe, Chris, and Montse. Thank you for everybody joining live, and to those watching on YouTube. Have a great week or weekend.
Thank you, everyone, for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.